we go back to turnovers, and there might not be a lot of them, but one thing you emphasized at the beginning of the season was kind of playing that unselfish, disciplined style of football.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a correlation between the two? Because usually when you try to go after turnovers, maybe you do gamble a little bit more at times.
Yeah, I mean, at times guys are going to play. They're going to see their keys. They're going to play fast, and be in the position when the ball comes to them to make plays. And I think at the end of the day, there were numerous opportunities last week to have turnovers. We just got to finish. We got to finish on the ball a little bit better. But it's one of those things too where we just got to keep practicing it and create those habits, create those confidence. But there were certainly opportunities last week.
Is it New Mexico? I mean, we asked you about it in spring, or playing this kind of an offense and stuff. And you guys, maybe the approach is a little different this year. How has it been maybe different, knowing what you guys have gone through against teams like them in Air Force?
Yeah, I mean, we play them every year. And week to week, you might see some of it. Teams might pepper it into, what they do. Saw a little bit last week. So you always got to be ready for it. So there's, like any other offenses that you practice against in the offseason and you prepare for. I mean, obviously this one's a huge one for us. And just really getting our guys to understand going into the season how to defend these teams in terms of their responsibilities and how they change and whatnot. So we spent some time on it. Hopefully we're further along than we have been in years past. I don't know. We'll find out here soon.
I know you did over 300 yards on 6 plays.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a similarity into what happened on those 6 long plays, or were they all different?
From last year.
From last year.
You're talking about, yes. So, and shoot, if you look at it there too, there were a couple explosive runs and some explosive pass plays, which the pass plays obviously are a result of attacking in the run game and not, when the DB's got to make sure that they're playing with great eye control. That's very difficult on them. Their wide receiver cracks and they can crack replace. If he doesn't crack, we can't crack replace. I mean, that's something we've been working on not only with for the triple option teams, but in general. I mean, that's a technique and a principle that we have to master, whether it's triple option or not.
I know you didn't fall camp, but even these last couple of weeks, did you sneak in an option period here and there, knowing this was coming? Or?
No, we've been focusing on who we're playing week to week and stuff.
So it really hasn't been since fall camp then that you've done any?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Is there a reason last game that there were towels that looked like that were shielding some of the defensive signals that were coming into the game?
Mm-hmm.
Is there something that led, I guess, to that being used? I don't know if you've seen that.
We just want to make sure that, there's schematics within the game. There's a game within the game in terms of getting the signals on the field and making sure that just our guys are getting those signals. So sometimes you got to adhere to those. There's different strategies that go into it and whatnot, but we just try to make it really easy on our guys.
The turnovers only having 2. I mean, is it? I know you're close on a lot of them, but is it frustrating? I mean, you guys had 31 last year, and it's just weird to look up 4 games in NC2. I mean, is it just literally, Mox had the one that he dropped, and there were a couple. Is that really all it is, just not finishing, or is there something maybe you're doing schematically different than in years past, where you're maybe okay not taking as many chances and getting as many, but you might have less big plays against you as well?
You know what? I mean, we're not going to be a gambling defense, because otherwise we're going to have a lot more explosive plays. So, I mean, if that's, obviously what you're leading to, we're not going to sacrifice that. If that's what you want me to say, I mean, we're not going to sacrifice and be out there gambling with our eyes and trying to do somebody else's job so we could go make a turnover. We just got to do our job, and when the ball comes our way, finish.
I mean, I'm not trying to compare or anything. I'm just curious. It seemed like last year maybe there were more chances taken at times, which led to some turnovers, but also led to some big plays against you. I mean, is that fair to say that maybe that is a little different changes here in your philosophy?
I don't think totally. No, I don't think totally that's fair.
How's your offense compared to last year?
They still got the explosive. I mean, they're explosive players. The running back, and the quarterback, they could roll. It doesn't take. They don't need much space either. That's the tough part about it. It doesn't take much space. And those guys get rolling, and they could run. They do a great job recruiting guys that fit their offense and to attack the way they want to. They do a really good job.
Sam and David Mella have done a really good job of kind of living in the opposing backfield. Your linebackers are very aggressive. In a game like this where discipline is going to be really important, do you kind of have to tell your guys to be a little bit less aggressive? I mean, how do you kind of approach this?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's that fine line. It's the same thing he's asking, you know. At the end of the day, you got to do your job. You got to do your job. It doesn't matter what offense you're playing. You got to do your job. You got to trust in the fact that you know what your alignments are, what your keys are, what your responsibilities are, and you know you got to do a good job seeing your keys. We should play really fast.
You get Dylan some. Go ahead.
I'm just evaluating the tackling so far this season. I mean, I feel like at times it's there in past years. I know we've talked about it early in the season where it can be an issue, but I don't remember a whole lot of missed tackles, it seems, this year by the defense.
Yeah, I mean, it's some we've obviously, I mean, like the turnover, we spent a lot of time on. It's just not, you know, it's one of those things with the turnovers right now. It's like one of those things you start pressing on it too much and it becomes a big, you know, it is a big deal, and obviously we got to get more, but it's the same with the tackling. I mean, there's a few things that we really harped on in the offseason, that losing the players we lost and the experience, there was a couple things that we didn't want to fall off on, and tackling was one of them that we actually thought we could get better at, you know. So that's obviously going to be a huge deal this week. You start focusing too much on the scheme and you don't focus on the fundamentals like we're talking about. Your simple, you know, your get off, your stance, your keys, and your footwork, and then being able to defeat blocks and make a play. You get too involved in the scheme and all that. We still got to play with great fundamentals.
How'd you improve tackling?
What's that?
What'd you guys do to focus and improve tackling?
You know, I think one thing that we've done as a staff is to get everybody on the same page and communicate the exact same way. We all agreed on how we, you know, what was best for us and how we're tackling here. And one of the most important parts, and probably the hardest part about tackling, is getting to the position to tackle somebody. That's the hardest part. You know, we call it squeeze and sink, you know, to the ball carrier, but being able to get yourself in position with the proper leverage and to be able to finish physically.
With the turnovers, I mean, you know, your tackles for loss, sacks, passes defended, you're near the top of the country in all of those. I mean, it's not like you're obviously having a great year, but it's just weird to see a Boise State defense with 2 turnovers through 4 games. I mean,
No doubt. No doubt. I mean, we're with what we've done. I mean, what you just rattled off there stat-wise, the guys are playing aggressive. You know, the guys are playing aggressive, and hopefully, you know, we continue to, you know, be productive in those areas, and it leads to turnovers. You know, that's all we could keep doing. You know, and keep practicing it, and hopefully, when, like I said, when the opportunity comes, capitalize.
What's the biggest challenge in facing New Mexico's offense that maybe makes them differ from any other offense, be it Air Force or whoever? What's the biggest challenge with them that makes them Penny so unique?
You know what? I think they do. Their team does a really good job. Their offense does a really good job of executing. And their coaches have a great idea of, hey, if you're playing them a certain way, they know the adjustments to defenses according to how you're playing them and how you're attacking. Their coaches, I mean, they know this stuff inside and out. And so I think they do a great job of executing. They get their explosive players the ball in the right situations. And, you know, obviously those guys are good at making plays. And you see they're one of the top rushing teams in the nation.
You get Dylan Sumner-Gardner back this week, obviously a great tackler, but coming back against a team where such discipline is needed, is this going to be a tougher game for him to come back for, or is this the perfect type of game for DSG to come back into?
Yeah, you know, it's just like anybody else. We're going to be able to tackle in open space, and he hadn't had a lot of, obviously, opportunities to do that, but it's, you know, like Coach said, we're working through it, and, you know, Cam Hartsville's been doing a great job out there, so.
with Moxie, I mean, you're talking about tackling. I mean, what else could he have done on that play? And
Yeah, shoot.
it seems like Coach Larson was a little disappointed, and I guess the fact that there's no appeals process and just that's it, he's out for the first half. What does that do to you guys to lose him for the first half too?
Yeah, Moxie played well. Moxie played really well last week. You know, he was in position and competing on the ball. He played really fast. That was probably one of Moxie's best games he's played. And in that certain situation right there, I don't know what we don't know. What do you tell him? He needs to tackle the receiver who's making an attempt to catch the ball, so he tackles him in the legs, and the wide receiver at the same time ducks for the ball, and so that's where you end up with the issue. And there's not much more that you could tell him there. From our point of view, it's just one of those things. The safety of the players is the number one deal. And so that's very important, but at the same time too, there's situations that pop up like that obviously there's not much you can do about it.
You talk about just tackling and stuff, and I know it kind of looks like a funny drill, but the ring drill, I mean.
Oh, with the donuts?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Is that something that you talk about being able to get a moving target and be in the right position? I mean,
Exactly. So that's one of the pieces of equipment that I think a lot of teams are starting to use now. Those guys got a hell of an idea. I don't know how much those things cost to make, but I mean that's a hell of an idea right there, right? Who would have thought? I mean, it's literally a donut that rolls on the ground. It makes guys get into position. They can tackle it. They can land on it. You don't even need pads to practice tackling with that piece of equipment. So yes, that's been huge for us, and you've seen us use it at practice and stuff. And the guys really like it. That's the important thing. When the guys feel good about what they're doing and they like it, they think, hey, this is helping me. Obviously, that's going to lead. That's going to be a huge benefit for us.
Sorry. What's allowed DeAndre Pierce to gain more playing time over the last couple of games?
We needed you get a little banged up here and there, and he's done a great job preparing and understanding. He creates that trust. Obviously, there's a lot of areas he's got to improve with being a true freshman and being very early in the season still. But he's really mature. He knows how to handle and prepare, which is probably the biggest difference from going from, obviously the level play, the speed and physicality and all that. But in terms of just preparing and understanding what you're doing, he's done a really fine job of that.